Hi, my name's Ishmael and today we're going to be talking about the rent-to-rent model and is it about to die? Or at least will it die soon? Well, as they are talking about bringing in unlimited ASTs, which means that effectively you cannot kick a tenant out. So they're talking about removing section 21, so no fault claims are not allowed to be taken anymore. This means that anyone who has not done anything wrong against the law cannot actually be kicked out of the property. So what does that look like? Well, that looks like, effectively, a landlord can only get their property back under legal rights if the tenant has done something illegal or broken a tenancy agreement. If they do not, the landlord is stuck with that tenant indefinitely. Now, how does this relate to rent-to-rent? Well, some people use ASTs on a rent-to-rent model. Now, I know it is not legal to use an AST between the owner of the property and the business who is operating, or the individual who is operating the rent-to-rent model. That is illegal. However, some people, now this doesn't apply to short-term lets because people don't use ASTs on short-term lets, but some people might get a property like a HMO, house of multiple occupants, and they might put a tenant in it. Now those tenants which go in the property are going to be normally on an AST, 6 month rolling contract or a year, where they, for example, they put students in the property on a yearly basis, and every time the tenancy or the term ends with the student normally moves out and then a new student moves in. So this is quite standard. But what would happen if they put a student in, or a person in the property, an individual, who doesn't want to leave? In other words, they go through their 3, 4, 5 years of college, or even 10 years if they're doing a doctorate, and then at the end of it they don't actually want to leave. And so they stay on, and they might be in the property for years. I know landlords who have had tenants for over 8 years in a HMO. Same tenant, over 8 years. They've had them in there since they owned the property. Now what would happen if you were the business or the person running a rent-to-rent and you had that? So for example, I get a property off a landlord, I get a property off an owner of a property who then lets it to me as a business. So I'll call the owner, and I'll call myself as a business A. So the owner rents the property to business A. Now business A then puts a AST on the property and rents it to a tenant, an occupier, and this tenancy will go on. Now when that tenancy goes on and on and on, my contract with company A to the owner might be 3 or 5 years. Let's call it 3 years, and after that 3 years I have to give the keys back unless the agreement is extended or changed. Now if the agreement is not extended or changed, then I have to give the keys back. Now if there is a tenant in the property at that time who doesn't want to leave, the owner, once they get the keys off company A, me, now have a tenant. Now they may not have wanted a tenant, or that particular tenant, or anything. They might not want to manage the property, which is why they got company A to run the business for them, run the property for them, and give them the rent. But now company A has been removed because their agreement has ended. Now you just have the tenant and the owner. Now the owner cannot kick the tenant out because the AST means that unless they've done something illegal, which they most likely haven't, then it is impossible for the owner to kick the tenant out. This meaning that the owner is now stuck with a tenant who they have not chosen and they can't get out of their property. So, is this going to change the industry? Yes, I think owners of properties are less likely to want to get company A or company B or any other company to rent the property off them and give them a guaranteed rent and then rent it on to tenants. The reason being, they might be stuck with the tenant indefinitely and they cannot change the use of that property. If it does not work very well as a HMO, That's why the keys are being handed back. If they can only get 50% occupancy and the numbers don't work, that's why the keys are being handed back. There's lots of reasons why the keys might be handed back, and the owner might not want to have a tenant because the business model didn't work, and therefore the owner can't make money, and therefore they don't want this tenant. They're either going to sell the property, or they're going to change the use of the property, or multiple things, but they don't want that tenant. So this is going to discourage the rent-to-rent model, and it is going to make the business a lot harder in future. So what does this mean? I personally think it means that even though I have been saying in other videos HMOs are not a great thing to get into because of the big corporations, I think that once we have a date set for the end of Section 21, then I believe that it is a great opportunity to get into HMOs, because I believe that people who are taking on rent-to-rents, they are not going to be taking on more rent-to-rents on the HMO market, because landlords are going to be less likely to want to do that. Meaning, if you want to get into the HMO market, wait until I update the videos or you hear about Section 21 ends, and then jump on and get as many HMOs as possible. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel and whack that bell notification icon to get notified of when Section 21 is ending. Once I hear, I will post it. I will explain to you the actual changes, the actual dates, the implications, and what I believe is going to happen as a result of all of that.